This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Here I am surrounded by portraits of some really, just look at these portraits. I mean, picture speaks 1,000 words, and if you go by that axiom, you just see there's lots of words being spoken here, very silently, of course, but some really powerful statements coming out from all of these pictures. Tell me, you're one of the artists who's behind this whole thing. Tell me, where did this idea come about?
So about 18 months ago, we were driving back from a photo shoot in London, and we saw everyone had a beard.
Yeah.
And we thought, hold on, we actually know a bunch of guys who have beards. Of course, I'm talking about the Singhs. And me and Root, both being of Sikh background, we thought, let's get our people and put them on the map and show people that, look, there are Singhs from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, doing amazing, wonderful things. So we invited them into the studio, we had some fun, and the project started.
So it's called the Singh Project, is that right?
That's right, the Singh Project. So
and everyone who's been photographed, are they all Singhs?
They are all indeed Singhs, yeah.
Wow.
So some fantastic, great people we've met. We knew that we needed to raise some money, so we basically made a short video. We put a video out there, and we needed £7,000, and we managed to raise over £10,000.
Wow!
So just so much passion and so much funding from people that have never even met us, which was absolutely incredible.
Fantastic, and it's just a brilliant collection of photographs. And how did you find all of these people? Are these all your friends, or are they your... did you just go to South Hall and say, hey, hang on, do you have 5 minutes to come into our studio? How do you go about doing it?
We basically started with the local Gurdwara. We thought that's where all the guys will be. So we went down there, took the iPad, and we said, look, we want to do some pictures like this. And initially, a lot of the guys didn't know what they were signing up for. A couple of the older guys thought it was passport photos we were doing. So they got bundled in the car along with a few of the other brothers. Immigration, they came straight down to the studio. And we done the shoot, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. They said it in Punjabi, I can't do how to say that. But they were basically amazed with it. And
some of them may be using these photographs for their passports as well?
Well, they thought that initially, and they have asked us, but I've said that's not possible.
Okay.
But we basically, we shot a few people initially, and the word just spread, and it's amazing how many people
in fact, we have somebody who has been photographed. Tell me a bit about how you got involved in this project, and did you think this is for your passport or something?
Well, I was hoping it wasn't for my passport, because I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I was actually approached by a member of Parliament who knew Amit and Naroop, and somehow got in touch with me and said, these guys are looking for interesting Sardars to be part of a Singh project. And actually I thought no, because you're not quite sure what that's about. But I think the one thing I should say about this is, as much as it's about the content and the Sikhs with turbans that these guys have photographed, it takes artists and visionaries to change what we see in everyday life and reimagine that, and we look at it again, and it makes a statement in the world around us. And I would say this is a big statement about what British Sikhs...
Are you an aspiring politician, or are you a politician already?
I've done a bit of politics. I used to work for the mayor, Boris.
That sounded like a political speech, but I want to talk to you a bit about, you can look at these photographs, and there are two things. I mean, you can look at them, say, wow, great photographs, great art, and go back home. But on the other hand, there's a much deeper and much more sort of, the social message here as well. When you see men with, wearing their beards and wearing their turbans so proudly in all of these photographs, you don't, about 30 years ago or 50 years ago, you wouldn't have imagined an exhibition of this sort in England.
No, you're right. 30, 40, 50 years ago, when our parents, grandparents were coming to this country, it was very strange to see people with turbans, and that was probably the low point of awareness. Then we've had a gradual increase, but then we had another low point, 9/11 and things around that, associated turbans and with terrorists almost at that point. We've had issues about what does it mean to wear a turban, what does it mean to be a Sikh, and a community that's been in this country for now, as you say, 50 years. So this is really a modern interpretation of what modern British Sikhs wearing turbans look like. And this is what we look like. And it's great that these guys have managed to celebrate that.
Fantastic, fantastic. And you know, we were speaking before we were rolling camera, and you said that your connection with Sikhs and Punjabis is through your husband and your husband's family. Tell me a bit about, you know, when you look at these portraits and you sort of, you know, look at the just as I'm talking to you, you can look at these portraits and, you know, you can just look at their faces looking back at you. Tell me what goes through your mind when you look at these photos?
Well, first of all, I think every photo looks so different. Even though we're symbolising one thing, every photo looks so different. I love the fact that the spectrum of young men covered, well, it's from younger men to older men. You've got the turbans that are tied so differently as well, which is another thing that symbolises where they're from, and even their sense of fashion as well in a way, and what their preference is. And I think it highlights something that's not really been shown. I work in mainstream media, and I haven't seen anything like this before, and I think it's absolutely incredible to see.
Do you think we have do we have enough British Sikh men and women on telly, on British telly at the moment?
I think we could have a lot more. I think there is an opening for more, and I think things like this will help to push that further. And again, the fact that we're seeing things we've never seen before, and I know that I've come along today and I've learned things that I've never known of before. I didn't know about the different styles of tying turbans. I didn't know, you know, just the creative side of it, which is so interesting to see. And the fact that all of these young men are from different professions is very interesting. So
this is really good, because, you know, whenever I talk to people about art, people say that real art is not you know, what the artist's vision is, but what you take away from art. You know, and it can be so many different things. Tell me, what do you take away from this exhibition?
Actually a lot, because I come from a Sikh background. My father is Sikh, my mum's a Hindu, and I was brought up with two cultures and two religions and two not so dissimilar, but very kind of practicing very differently. And for me, I think what's really beautiful about this exhibition is the broad range of people's expression through their turban. And it's not just always about geographical connections. It's an East African turban or an Indian turban. An Indian turban probably has 100 variations. East African turban, there's similarities, but there was a whole Sikh community that lived and were born and brought up in East Africa, and they have a very individual style of turbans. Kulveer's turban here is very much an East African turban. It's
really?
I'm a born and bred Londoner, so, you know, the turban is via East Africa. Think of it as the Indian elephant and the African elephant. There's a distinction between the ear sizes. So an East Indian turban is one where the material is twisted and you get a very specific style. An East African influenced turban, don't ask me why this happened, you'll have to ask Darwin about this, but why it happened was they folded the material and you get a pleat.
Darwin or maybe Daljit's, Daljit Singh or something.
Darwin Singh, also from India. But it's about the pleat, so it's folded. So East African is a folded style, and an Indian style is a twisted style, more like that. So this gentleman here. So that's a twisted style. That's Indian, traditional Indian. And over here you got my friend Pradeep. That's an East African influence, because we're obviously now not from East Africa. We're Londoners. We're UK British Sikhs.
And is there a possibility of there being a London turban? You know, some
there
new,
is, because like Kulveer just said, that people's self-expression of how they tie it isn't necessarily the way it may have been tied 50, 100 years ago. Now everyone finds their own hand. It's like anything that you do. If you learn how to write calligraphy, you'll find a way to write it. Everyone's hand falls differently when they tie a turban.
Very interesting observation. Not terribly insightful, but you don't wear a turban.
I knew I was going to be asked that. I'm working on the beard, okay? To be honest with you, I was raised without a kind of turban from day one. For me, fundamentally, I believe, you know, what you see on the outside isn't what necessarily reflects inside. So for me, it's all about being a good person, living a whole life. And, you know, I'm very proud of my brothers when I see them, you know, with the turbans and the beards. But it's not something I'm ready to commit to yet myself. But as I said, I'm more than proud of everyone else out there.
As yet, so this is a story that hasn't ended as yet. So we may check in with you a year later.
Check in, maybe give me a few years, you know, 10, 20 years maybe.
The man with the turban, what's the one word that comes to your mind?
Powerful.
Kabir.
Singh.
Royalty.
What are we trying to do here?
So we wanted to do a project that reflected our background as British Sikhs. It's not a topic on Sikhism. It's a topic of identity.
Right.
It's not a religious thing. This is a identity thing.
I mean, I was born in this country, and I've kind of seen through the folklore, through the grapevine, through my grandfather, through my father, through the mothers of the family, the sisters. You know, we have seen so much turbulences in terms of social identity in this country.
What do you mean by that? Explain to me what that means.
Back in the days, my father, you know, he cut his hair in a East London barber shop in Bethnal Green when he was 18 because he found it very, very difficult to get a job, and in particular as a technician to have the kind of job, be accepted in the kind of job he wanted. And my grandfather kept his turban. You know, he would wake up 5 in the morning, he would polish his British brogue shoes, he would put his pug on, and I used to sit with him and do that. I never really had the choice because I never grew my hair since a kid, but today, out of respect, I decided to wear at the style a bug today. And
here we are talking about turbans and you know and beards and all of that, but I notice you yourself don't.
Mine's invisible, man. It's invisible. You can't see his hair. It's invisible. Now, you know what? I think the way you look on the outside doesn't necessarily reflect the person you are on the inside. I think it's wrong to assume someone who adheres to the way of the look of their religion is necessarily a follower of that religion, and the person who doesn't is not. I'm a man of belief. The God I believe is the one God would not judge me based upon that. And so I don't think right now
I like your previous answer. It's invisible. That's the truth. In contemporary Britain today, wearing a turban, does that make you less employable? Does it make you stand out in a way which you feel you play with a disadvantage?
Once upon a time, my belief was that it was a disadvantage, but fortunately the sector I'm in allows me to express who I am, and that's what makes me me. I'm an individual, and people should be individuals. But I've never experienced it to date, that I've ever been discriminated for it. And again, I never used to have a beard until recently. Again, and it wasn't for religion. It was again. You
didn't just grow it for the exhibition, right?
It was about my truth. It was about inspiring people. From me being me, if people could be inspired, and that's great.
Today in modern Britain, do you think if young Sikhs watching this in this country, do you think they still feel that kind of thing of gosh, I'm wearing a turban, I may not get this job only because I look different? Do you think they still carry that sort of feeling today?
No, I don't think so at all. I think. Like I said earlier, we've come a long way, and from the periphery, I've seen it because I don't wear, as a practice, I don't wear a turban, but when I do wear it, I wear it with utmost respect and pride.
In this country, you say that people who live in this country should sort of make an effort to blend in, and should become as British as they possibly can be. What would you say to people like that?
I would say, at the end of the day, this whole project just reflects the answer to that, which is to be yourself, to embrace whatever culture you are, and to embrace the society and the environment that you're living in, because everything holds its own value. So, again, it's not about fitting into being in this country or being British, or going to visit India and becoming an Indian. And I think it's embracing every culture to become your own identity.
Tell me, when I say the words British Sikh community in the UK, what's that one word that comes to your mind?
Graceful.
Cool.
Cool.
Serving.
Courageous.